together. So Andre took over the job January 21st. He had a 28-year career in the Canadian Armed Forces prior to that, which include overseeing the security at the 2010 Olympic Games in Vancouver. Most recently served as the Deputy Minister within the Ministry of Education. Now has come over to the City of Edmonton, overseeing the 12,000 employees within the organization. So thanks for your time, Andre. I don't know much about you, but I know you responded to my email within 20 minutes when I asked you to do this. So most appreciated, and welcome to the Edmonton Sport Council AGM.
No problem. My pleasure to be here. Nice to see everyone.
Thanks, Andre. So we'll keep this light. We'll keep this casual. People. This is a chance for people to get to know you. So maybe give us some tips. Give us some background on what you do to keep active, engaged with activities, things your family do.
Yeah, thanks. I like to say I have two lives, like I'm sure many of us. I have the pre-injury young fit life, where I used to be a biathlon competitor in the Army biathlon competitions. I was a combat diver, and I've done about 6 marathons. That's the sort of pre-life. And then the post-life, I've slowed down a bit based on, age, and I got blown up in Afghanistan once, so that hurt my knee quite a bit. But so now I still try to stay super active, but it's a little more calmer. So I really worry about my left knee. I used to play rugby too in the young days, but so now with the with some of the knee stuff and everything, I still do a ton of hiking, still do downhill skiing, and I kind of save my knee for the downhill skiing so I can enjoy that as much as possible. And then I'm an avid fly fisherman, which I combine with my hiking and camping trips. So I do still happy to spend 8 hours on the river, doing about 10 kilometers on the river, sort of wading along rocks and things like that. So that's how I try to keep active and very much stay outside as much as I can.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing. So you've had many different leadership roles with the Canadian Armed Forces, with the provincial government, and now with the city. Can you share some leadership beliefs, and how do those experiences transfer into your role today?
Yeah, thanks for that, Brian. I mean, I really believe in leading by example is key. I think in this position in particular, I've got a responsibility to lead a corporate culture and make sure we have the right tone at the top. So I'm still generally new to the role, but I do spend quite a bit of time talking to as many employees as I can to try to share or inspire a shared vision for where we're going in the city. And then relationship management is key to me. And, you mentioned it, Brian, I responded in 20 minutes. I try to respond as soon as I can. I think that's a key aspect in terms of my relationship management for the city. I mean, your organization was already on my list of folks to contact and meet with. And so when I saw your email, it was certainly easy to say, yes, let's get together and let's do it. I actually have more time at night as well. So I enjoy these 7 p.m. meetings because I've actually got time to have them. So that's great. I think we have to, think strategically in everything we do, but be nimble in terms of moving forward and getting stuff done. And I guess, professionalism and professional development are key to me from a leadership perspective as well. So those are the values I try to live by and lead by example on, and, can't be perfect every day, but you always strive for those kinds of things. So
you're nearing 100 days, Andre, and sometimes taking a new job, there's a 100-day plan. So some things that you'd like to do. Do you feel you've accomplished some things accomplished some things on your list within the first 100 days? And then how does that look?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I mean, it's interesting because I had actually a very formal 100-day plan, and part of my fault because I think it was in the 3rd or 4th interview I did with council, I kind of stressed the importance of having a clear 100-day. I called ours the 90-day plan, so I wasn't too surprised when they gave me the job. But they said, "But we like that 90-day plan. We want to have it." So I did formally brief back council on the conclusion of that about a week ago. And they were pretty happy with it because it was the first time they'd had a city manager, at least this council had a city manager do a 90-day plan. So I reported back very clearly on it. I had 3 sections in the 100-day plan. The first was get to know the city and focus, on internally for the first month. Then my second was get to know Edmonton and focus externally. And then the third month was focused on transitioning from a 100-day plan to a more longer term, which gets to the second part of the question. So we have presented to council sort of the transitioning from out of a 90-day plan into the sort of longer year-long work plan for the city. And so I'll just mention that, my priorities coming out of that, which council agreed with, are healthy city, which is, everything to do with affordable housing, homelessness, inclusive Edmonton, a vibrant and safe city. And I would say the Sports Council is part of that. Urban places, infrastructure planning and development is a second priority. And I would say the Sports Council has a stake in that priority. Regional prosperity, economic action plan, and regional partnerships. Say probably a little more distant than perhaps your core role, but still part of what you do, I would say. And then climate resiliency, climate change adaptation strategy, energy transition strategy, which of course were approved at council last week, but that's just the start of the work to approve the strategy. Now we've got to implement these pretty complex strategies over the next couple of years. And so, I don't think that's necessarily a core business of the Sports Council, but I believe strongly that many of you would share a lot of the sentiments behind the climate change adaptation strategy and the energy transition strategy. So I'm sure there's some common goals there as well. So that's kind of the longer term piece.
Yeah.
I think the good news for me is I don't have to spend a bunch of time doing high level strategy work. I got to be strategic in my daily thoughts. But the city plan is there, Connect Edmonton is there, and now we have some very good, clear strategies for city building. And so I'm kind of in very much get stuff done mode, break down barriers, and just get a bunch of stuff done in line with thinking strategically.
Very much the Sport Council. There's no those are broad terms, and the Sport Council can play a role in some of those, but we very much believe that sport, physical activity, recreation can be a key driver to a healthy city. So thanks for highlighting that. Okay, maybe narrowing down into sport, physical activity, and recreation a bit. So just to review with everybody, the Live Active strategy is a strategy to achieve a healthy, vibrant Edmonton in which everybody embrace active lifestyles that improve their individual well-being, as well as that of their families, neighborhoods, and communities. So as a leader in the city, Andre, what is your vision to accomplish the goals of Live Active?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'd start by saying, from our perspective, Edmontonians are going to make wise lifestyle choices, but they have to be presented with options to do that. So the Live Active strategy is certainly ingrained in the city plan, and that's, I think, where the city's key responsibility is for making sure as we build the city, we create options for Edmontonians to choose, make those great lifestyle choices without sort of ordering or telling them what to do, because we're not in the business of telling Edmontonians what they must do, but we're certainly in the businesses of creating opportunities for them to make some really good decisions. And that's how I see fundamentally it aligns. So, the city plan is a key piece of work in how we keep together and accomplish the goals of the Live Active strategy. It's how the city grows, how do we create innovative transportation corridors, community services, fitness centers, both city-run fitness opportunities and private ones that are already out there. And so it's really about aligning and harmonizing our efforts to the broad range of partners to make sure that we make it a very genuine, livable thing in the city and follow that strategy. We do have some good target audiences, and we've got some ways to measure our success in this regard. And so we'll keep doing it. The other thing I would add to this is, if you haven't seen our recovery out of COVID strategy, it's really based on 3 criteria. One is the health conditions, how are we doing in terms of healthy Edmontonians and sort of from a health perspective, how many ICU patients, how many COVID cases, those kinds of things. It's also got an element about, people following the rules. That is to say, mask compliance policy, and some of that is immunization progress and things like that. But then it's also got, a healthy economy and making sure we balance those needs off. So I would say that some of the decisions that are in the concept of making healthy lifestyle choices from a fitness perspective is part of what we're looking at. So when we think about opening, fitness centers, for example, I'm very much have on my mind physical health, but the mental health that comes with that, especially coming out of the pandemic, which is why the moment the province allows us to reopen these facilities, we'll be on top of it as quickly as possible.
And the city's done a great job of that through the last year. We've had, and a lot of partners on the call today. We've had a lot of opening, pauses, reopening, different phases to go through. So we've seen a resilient sector. Maybe access, like I'll nail away at access here, Andre, is that the city has leisure access program and other initiatives to support families that would have some barriers accessing city recreation facilities and also programs. Is there any ideas or thoughts you have around how we can work together to increase the access so it's available to all Edmontonians?
Yeah, I guess not a ton of specifics on that. Maybe I need to hear more from you on that. I mean, we do look at everything at the city through a GBA plus lens, and that would include sort of people that of different cultures and gender equity and anti-racism and some of those lenses. And I think also from an economic opportunity lens. So we try to look at that. In fact, today at council we were discussing the concepts of the expo center and using it for more different types of fitness pieces. And of course, one of the discussions that came up was how closely it's tied to transit, and therefore people who don't have cars, who don't have the economic ability to have a car or whatever, they may not want to have a car, but there's ways to getting access to them. So I guess I would say it needs to be looked at through a gender-based analysis plus lens, as well as an accessibility lens, to make sure we're catering to every human in the Edmonton landscape. And I think we do some of that. I wouldn't argue we do it all perfectly right now, but I know we're trying hard to do that. And that is now a policy statement from council that we have to be looking through those lenses. And again, I think we've always got more work to do, but we'll certainly keep at it. So I think collaboration with schools and the school programs is another way where I think we can make sure that there's great access to and we're maximizing the access. And then I guess the last thing I would say is just being ready. So I would say our readiness is high right now as we come out of COVID. We're really ready to seize opportunities, and the moment the province talks about switching from step 1 back to step 2 again, will be, very close on the heels of that will be our reactivation of those facilities as best we can.
Okay, thanks, Andre. So we will get to 1 or 2 questions from people, but I'll go for a couple more with Andre. So a nice easy one, Andre. FIFA 2026 has been discussed, and there's a lot of work that's gone into that. Your thoughts and what potential social legacies could come out of hosting an international sport event quite like that?
Well, first of all, let me just say how much of a personal fan I am of FIFA and getting it to this city. And I think we're doing everything humanly possible to stay in that bid process and get council's commitment to that bid process. And I think we're doing everything we can to also get the province to do the same. And so we've got tons of work on the FIFA piece, but one of the most exciting things I did was work on the 2020 Olympics, and of course my part was security related, but it was all about having a positive event. And one of the things I'm most proud about the Olympics is we didn't get the security force in the news for the entire Vancouver 2020 Olympics, other than the RCMP arresting one of the snowboarders' husbands because he broke the rules and tried to go out of bounds somewhere. And that was quickly dealt with. But I'm proud of the fact that we were able to keep those events secure, but not in the media from a security perspective. And we did a lot of work making sure that was the case. but the legacy we saw in the Vancouver 2010 Olympics was huge, and we still see it play out today. And I think the same to varying degrees we're going to see here if we get this FIFA event here in Edmonton. So we're totally stoked about it. I think Explore Edmonton's doing a fantastic job with the details of the FIFA submissions, and I think in terms of legacy. It's really focused about youth and kids and seeing a world-class event like that being held in the city and being inspired by that. So, I think it's a no-brainer myself. But
okay, we'll put that in the minutes, Andre. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, and I think a social legacy. We've had some meetings leading up to it, and just if every child had the opportunity to play, and it doesn't have to be soccer, but additional sports too. I think that's the social legacy that we would aspire to have. I'll go with
it's certainly not. It goes well beyond soccer. I mean, from my perspective, it's about that level of sport coming to this city and inspiring people. So.
This is a longer-winded one, Andre. So community members have been advocating for a replacement for Scona Pool for a long time, and also there was a lot of conversations at the last budget adjustment around supporting East Glen, Scona, some of the more local rec centers. How do you see projects such as the Scona Pool and the concept of smaller recreation centers within communities so people could walk, bike to get there? How do you see a pilot like Scona Pool occurring, and how could this maybe inspire the city or share lessons for the city to build smaller, more local recreation centers?
Yeah. I mean, as you know, we don't have funding for this kind of approved for the Rolling Miles Recreation Center project, for example, is currently unfunded. So, right now we're not there. I'm not gonna go political, but my advice to you is that you all go political and convince your elected representatives of the value of these facilities, because in the end, part of the reason is that we've got some other challenging issues as well as in terms of budgeting and those kinds of things. So, we just don't have a ton of this approved in the plan. I think conceptually we're there from a city building perspective, but in the end, it's going to take, really, I think the fall budget is the next opportunity for Edmontonians to influence clear funding options for this kind of thing. I think there's been some good chats about it, and the discussion is certainly alive. But I think it's one of those things where you've got to convince your elected officials how important this is. And hopefully that's not seen as a cop out for me, but
no.
We certainly we certainly do follow the elected officials' lead, right? So.
Yeah, and there was good conversation.
And I see at least one of them in the crowd.
Yeah.
Potentially.
There was good conversation at the last budget adjustment about the Rolling Miles pilot. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it's definitely on council's mind and certainly on administration's mind. And if we get the push from council, we can absolutely do this. But right now, as I said, I'll be clear and as I can. It's unfunded right now. So.
Okay, great. So I've dominated time here, so I do want to leave it, and this will be hard to do. But if you do have a question, raise your hand, and I'll do my best to choose someone to ask a question. Adrian. Thanks, Adrian. Go ahead. And I think you're on mute, Adrian. I can.
There we go. I got it. Sorry about that. So Andre, welcome to City of Edmonton, and we suffered a few cutbacks in funding programs as part of the COVID and dealing with the financial realities. Do you see that some of those programs have a chance of being restored once we get back to normal. There was a couple of them were very important. The partner capital grant is a means by which community non-for-profit groups could put in their own money, get some matching grants from the city, potentially also get some matching grants from the province, and you could build a project that is led by the community group rather than the City of Edmonton. And that means they can often do it for a lot less cost. From my own experience with the soccer expansion project, I'm afraid all the policies that are in place, they're all good individually, but the cumulative effect is that the city building a project is now getting prohibitively expensive. In our case, I think it's it's almost doubled the cost of what it could have been if a group just did it themselves. So I'm wondering if you would be an advocate for restoring that type of program, which encourages groups to take the leadership role.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian, for the question. I won't get specific about that specific program because I'm just not familiar with it. But I will tell you that I am an advocate of private partnerships when it comes to getting anything built. And so, if there's a private entity or a community group that wants to build a rec center that falls in line with the city plan and the strategic, concepts of how we want to build this city, and we can get out of the way, if that helps for us to get out of the way for it to happen, then I'm certainly supportive of those kind of concepts, with details obviously to be clarified. But I don't believe that the city has to build everything in the city. I just believe we have to create, a place where that can be done. And so I'm open to public-private partnerships. I'm open to private entities building what they want and what they feel they need. And I think, our job is to make sure, can we integrate that all along, within the sort of concept of the city building, then great. Now, I would also say that I don't think that is the history of the city in terms of staff perspective and direction. So I also believe that we've got to do a bit of culture adjustment here in the city to perhaps facilitate that a bit more. But I'm not criticizing our city staff in any way, but we've got to make it clear to them that we're open to those kinds of things, and we are. And we've discussed some of this recently at council as well. So I've got to delve into this a bit more in terms of what our current policies are, but I am definitely open to anything that will help build the city. And from a sporting perspective, if it's another entity building it, then as long as we can do it in a way that works in the city plan, I'm okay with
that. Gabrielle, do you have a question?
I do. Andre, hi, nice to see you again. Thank you so much for answering questions. My question to you is, you mentioned having to change culture around the opportunities inherent in partnering with private industry. How do you personally, how will you as a new city manager go about changing that culture?
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel, for the question. Good, nice to see you again as well. This gets down to the leadership and inspiring the shared vision. I think what we have now in the city, which we've lacked for a long time, is this city plan. And that is the shared vision of the city. And so, to get very specific, one of my comments to leadership in the city is, as long as you're working towards a city plan and, that kind of city building, we can do almost anything in any new way. I'm trying to give people permission to experiment and to try new things that perhaps haven't been considered before. And I'm also doing a bit of challenging of people as well, and saying, why does it take 5 years for us to do that, and trying to delve into that in a few ways. So for me, it's a combination of setting the example, setting the vision, which we have in city plan, challenging some of the staff from time to time, but also freeing up some of the staff. I can guarantee you that the staff are passionate about what they do and they want to get things done. And if they're slowing down or causing pause, or that's the perception, it probably has a lot to do with them not being freed by leadership, like people like me and the executive leadership team. We have to also free them up and give them permission to be free and to try new things. So, you know, it's really a team effort in this, and I think though that three-pronged approach is how I hope to do some adjustments as we go forward. And I also have to say that they've done a lot of this already. Like, it's not just me as the new city manager. The staff, I hear this from a lot of stakeholders. They've been moving in this direction for several years, and everybody acknowledges we've got more to go, but we're moving in the right direction, I would say.
Thanks, Gabrielle. Thanks, Andre. So we will cut it off there, just for time. But you can see, Andre, that this group could probably go an hour with you. So it's a passionate sector, and maybe Edmonton Sport Council and membership, you know, want to be part of working with you in terms of leading some of these conversations as compared to responding. So we look forward to working with you that way. Andre, if somebody had an idea or a question and they want to submit that to the city or to yourself, any recommendations?
Yeah, if they want to submit it to the city, or myself, just email it to me.
Okay.
And I'm putting in my email address now. And also, if you want to call me or send me a text, I'm putting in my cell phone that you can also contact me. Now, I may not reply immediately to everybody in 20 minutes, Brian. So, like, I'm just you know, to manage expectations.
Yeah.
And maybe I might ask somebody else to reply for me, depending on what's going on. But like certainly open to texts and emails and those kinds of things, and you know, we'll get it moving in the right direction.
Well, there's only 39 people here, Andre, so that's 39 texts that you can get max. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Andre, we really appreciate your time. I appreciate you personally getting back to me so quick, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for what you do as a council, and appreciate the work you do. And maybe next time we can meet somewhere and go for a run for a meeting or something like that.
Deal.
Okay.
Deal. Thanks.
Have a great night. Cheers.
Take care.